Hi, I'm Jim with Hydra MTS. Hydra MTS is a multi-tank monitoring and control system specifically designed for many tanks. There are many good systems out there that do a great job, but this is the only system that is designed specifically for people with MTS. Now, MTS is multi-tank syndrome, and if you don't know what it is and you don't know if you have it, you can go to hydra-mts.com. There's a little test on there to tell you if you have MTS. It's a serious condition, and if you do have it, this system is perfect for you. These are the components of the Hydra MTS system. As we said, this system was specifically designed for people with many tanks. And we wanted to build this so that it would be affordable and that it would be scalable, so that whether you have 2 tanks or you have 90 tanks, you would be able to mix and match and use exactly what you wanted. It consists of the Hydra controller. This has all of the software and is the main part of the system. An expansion hub that is done via your Wi-Fi system. An expansion hub that is done via USB cable. Some power supplies. It has temperature, pH, and ORP sensors. We also have leak detectors. It has adapters to connect pH, ORP, and temperature. This does up to 4 thermocouples. You use sensor cables to connect the adapters to the devices and smart plugs. This is the main Hydra MTS controller. This is a single board computer. It has our software. Our system was designed to run on completely off-the-shelf components. We tried to keep this as inexpensive as possible, and to do so, we used computers and sensors that were off the shelf. In this case, this has USB ports, an Ethernet port, and sensor ports. You plug the power supply, which looks like this, which is included, into the device. The first thing you'll do is you will put power and Ethernet into this system. You'll download an application that will allow you to set this up on your home network and register the device so that you can get SMS alerts when, say, your heater is over temperature, things like that. This system is the only custom piece, the software, that is. The next part of this system is the expansion hub Wi-Fi. You'll see that there are 6 sensor ports. So this could be 4 times thermocouple, it could be a pH port, an ORP port, a leak port. But sooner or later, you're going to run out of these if you're a multi-tank syndrome person. And so you can expand. This is the Wi-Fi option. It has, as you can see, 6 ports. You configure it originally with the Ethernet and set it up on your network. And then once it's done, it's connected. This plus the power supply can go anywhere in your house that your Wi-Fi works. So if you have most of your tanks down in the basement, but you've got a display tank up in your living room, you can use this to put it up there in the display tank. This is the Vint hub, and it is for Ethernet. So this has an Ethernet port in it. There's no configuration. You just plug it in with an Ethernet cable, which are supplied, and it allows you to expand this USB port to this. So you can do 2 here because this is the Wi-Fi dongle, so this runs on Wi-Fi. However, there's also a 7x port multiplier you can buy. So you can use this, let's say you have a fish room with 20 tanks and you've got a lot of stuff you want to monitor. You can have a whole network of USB cables that allow you to connect to many, many things. Next, we move to the sensors. This is our temperature sensor. We have 1X versions and 4X versions. In other words, we can put 4 thermocouples and plug them in. In our kit, the starter kits, we pre-wire this for you so that it makes it simpler for you. But you just take this here and you take a sensor wire, you plug it into that in there, and you plug the other end into the port. It does not matter which one it goes into. What does matter is that you remember these numbers. There's a 6-digit number on the front of each of these devices, And if you have many of these, they can set it up. We always recommend doing these just a few at a time so that you're not plugging in 20 sensors and then trying to figure out which one's which. If you do, you can figure it out for sure, but it's easier if you just plug them in as you go. This can do up to 4. We suggest using the 4 for anything more than 2. It's cost effective. It can do it. And if you're a multi-tank person, you may have many tanks near each other. If you have many tanks near each other, this is by far the most cost effective way. This is a thermocouple. We give you a nice little suction cup so you can adhere that to the wall of your tank, or you can just hang it over the side like I do. We then move on to the pH port. This is the pH probe. These are lab quality devices. Again, we're using off-the-shelf components. These are made for lab quality, so we're not giving you stuff. It's true pH. They can all be adjusted. This has an adapter, so you'll plug in the other end of this cord into the adapter. You'll make the connection, and then you'll plug in the sensor cable from here to there. Everything turns into a sensor cable, and that's how we connect it. We have the exact same thing for ORP. So that's used in some people who like to know what your redox potential is. But you take that, you plug it into its adapter, and connect that to the unit. So we have those sensors. We also have a leak detector that is an off-the-shelf leak detector. It has a battery. It beeps when you have a leak. It also has connections that go into here so that you can receive those that SMS that you have a leak. These are smart plugs. Again, we're using off-the-shelf component. These are made by Casa. They only work with Casa smart plugs, but we use this to connect to that. These come in a simple 4-pack of these. That's what's included in the sample kit. You can also get them with power monitoring. Maybe you want to watch your pump, and if your pump, as it gets clogged, draws more power, you can set your power thing. Or your plug's not, your pump is not plugged in. Somebody unplugged it to, say, vacuum the house, and you need to know that your pump isn't running. They have versions of this with power monitoring. They also make them in strips, so 3 and 5 strips. If you have a lot of things together, we like the singles. They're pretty affordable, and you can use it to just control. So you can set up a timer in here and use this to control your lights. You can use this to cut off your heater or control your heater. You could use this to cut off if you're using CO2 injection or O3 injection for correcting, things like pH and ORP. You can use this to cut it off if it gets above certain limits, high or low. But these are very handy. It makes it very things. You pick these up on Amazon. We will supply them to you, but we have to buy them and then resell them to you just like you buy them. So you might want to just buy them yourselves. Again, the system is set up so that once this is set up, you go into the user interface using your telephone or your computer, and you go to the site that's there, and you can set up your individual tanks with whatever monitoring you're using. You can set up high and low set points so that if the tank, say your heater failed and the tank was going to get too hot, it would alert you that the tank is getting too hot, and it would also cut off the heater so that you don't boil your fish. That's same for pH or power, things like that. It has timers for things like lights, things you want to come on, skimmers, things like that. It has modes so that if you wanted to have a feed mode, say, you want to turn off your filters, you want to turn on your lights, and you want to be able to do that for 5 minutes, you can set up so that you hit feed mode, all of your tanks pause, you go out there and feed all your fish so the flakes don't get sucked into the filter, and then it'll come back on. So it just automatically resets. We also have a clean mode where we might want to turn off the heater because we're draining the tank down below the heater level. We turn the heater off, and they're all set up to make this very easy. Again, this system was specifically designed for people with many tanks. It works just fine on a single tank, but there are many systems that do that. This was specifically designed for many tanks.